Good morning. The mouth of the just speaks of wisdom. I want to share with you a short story. Two monks on their way to the monastery were approached by a very attractive woman at the riverbank. Like them, the woman also wished to cross the river, but the water was too high, so the older monk lifted up her on his shoulder and carried her across. The younger monk was very scandalized. For about 2 hours, the younger monk was questioning and criticizing the older monk for not being a good example and not keeping the holy rules. Had you forgotten that you were a monk? How dare you to touch a woman? And what would people say? And that you have brought our holy religion to shame and dishonor. The older monk patiently listened to the never-ending sermon and replied, "Brother, I had already dropped the woman at the river. Are you still carrying her?" I'm sure that some of you have already heard this story, but I believe that we can learn so many things from this short story. One of the things that I would say this particular story is really relating to the Gospel of St. Mark this morning is stop judging and criticizing people due to what we have observed without considering the intention of their action. Jesus says in the Gospel today, nothing that enters one from outside can defile that person, but the things that come out from within are what defile. After carrying the woman across the river, the older monk has already dropped her off, while the younger monk was still carrying her in his heart and criticized his fellow monk. Matthew Kelly, in his book Perfectly Yourself, says this: within us, within human person, there are two selves which are constantly battling each other for supremacy. One is the true self, which speaks for character, and the other is the false self, which speaks for ego. This battle is between character and ego exists within people and between people, within nation and within nation. While some people choose to form good habits and characters, others choose to live according to their own ego. We are living in if we're living in an ego-centered point of view, which is about me, then we are constantly frustrated and disappointed because we place ourselves as gods and as the center of our attentions. It means that everyone has to meet all of our expectations and that we will never try to understand what they are trying to communicate. And then what is the result of that? We filter and hear only what is in relation to what we want to hear and what is of our own interest. The truth is this. Matthew Kelly says, we are not the center of the universe. When we think that we are always the center of our attentions, we set ourselves up for frustration and disappointment. Some people get sick. Some people arrive late to meetings due to some challenges in their life, and some people are just simply having a bad day But these may be good opportunities for us, for you and me, to be empathetic and to engage in conversation to understand their life situation. What we can ask ourselves is, how do I respond to others in love and mercy? Our words can either build up or motivate other person, or our words can destroy them. Jesus says what comes out of the man, that is what defiles him. From within the man, from his heart, come evil thought, unchastity, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, envy, blasphemy, and arrogance. The people in the time of Jesus were very concerned about purity. The laws and the norms of purity indicated the necessary condition to be able to place oneself before God and to feel well in His presence. The law stated, "Be holy, for I am holy." At the time of Jesus, to touch a leper, to eat with tax collectors, to eat without washing your hands, and many other practices can make a person impure. And any contact with that person can contaminate the others. And for this reason, it was necessary to avoid anything impure. As a result, people live in fear and always threatened by so many things. They will apply to live without trusting anyone and trusting anybody or anything. Now for a certain, when Jesus come, everything changed. Through faith in Him, it was possible to have purity and to feel good before God without having to observe all of these laws and norms of the ancient tradition. The point is that purity in life is not about following the religious traditions of man. We do not become pure and right by making ourselves a slave to the doctrines and the commandments of God. Purity in life and fellowship in God depends upon the presence of God in our hearts and our obedience to His will. So what does it mean for you and me as we hear the gospel today? It means that man-made rules and laws may put us into the fellowship with men, but not God. Man-made rules and laws may protect us from the condemnation of religious authority, but it can't not protect us from evils that come from our hearts. So we must honor God with our hearts, with our lips, and especially with our daily life in the way we treat others. And the question that is worth for us to reflect today is, how do you and I respond to others in love and mercy? St. Anthony of Padua.